Konami was a name that people had moved on from thanks to the disaster from PT. With other projects released over the years that nobody asked for, eventually people would just ignore their existence entirely. That is, until they had announced a whole bunch of Silent Hill projects, including a remake of 2, which was more likely a response to the successes of the Resident Evil remakes, and I guess that the way that they saw it, remakes were the way to go. In any case, I'm not talking about Silent Hill or any of their other franchises in this video. I am talking about a fan-made project made a few years ago, a total conversion mod for classic Doom that converts its entire world into the universe of Castlevania. This mod is called Castlevania Simon's Destiny, a total conversion mod for classic Doom made by Batandi, who wanted to reimagine the experience of the first game, but in Doom. Konami, for the fallen angel that it is today, used to champion some of the greatest gaming franchises of all time: Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, and of course Castlevania. The classic Castlevania games were the definitive platformers of the 80s that provided fun combat, great bosses and monster designs and great atmosphere, as well as some of the catchiest soundtracks of all time. I myself am a huge fan of the Castlevania franchise, playing most of the older Castlevania games all the way up to Order of Ecclesia on the DS. It's a huge franchise that has shaped the landscape of platformers, and Symphony of the Night on its own spawned an entire genre that most platformers identify with nowadays. But this mod instead just takes the theme and setting of Castlevania and combines it with Doom's FPS gameplay. The story of Castlevania is that you play as Simon Belmont, who goes into the big looming castle held by Dracula, the vampire of all vampires, and you whip your way through ominous corridors, dungeons, broken bridges, and changing gears throughout the medieval hellscape, full of traps and ghoulish monsters, pesky bats, and even Medusa heads to piss you off. This fan-made remake is the same in this regard, but changes how it is structured. Like in classic Doom, you find the keys and kill monsters along the way. But in this one, you also find big gates that lead to the boss of the level, and beating that boss advances you to the next stage. There are 6 in total, with 6 bosses just like in the original Castlevania. You have your trusty whip, sub-weapons like the holy water, the stopwatch, the cross, the dagger, and this piece of shit. You also have pork chops that are hidden behind the walls which function as health. The whip itself can be upgraded by finding another one to do more damage. You don't have the flexible arsenal of Doom's weapons, but Simon Belmont is so badass that he kills the forces of evil with fucking water, and the whip is so powerful that candles seem to enjoy it every time you hit them, giving you a love heart as an indicator. The hearts function as ammo for your sub-weapons, and some, like the stopwatch, use more ammunition due to it being pretty powerful. Seriously, in some of the fights the stopwatch is just broken, especially against Frankenstein if you've been saving up ammo. In some ways this game is easier than the original Castlevania, but it is also harder at the same time. The 3D spectrum only just gives the enemies more freedom to move about, like the armored knights that throw boomerangs at you, or the bats that can fly anywhere, not to mention the hunchbacks too, which are just as annoying as they were in the original. The bosses too are no slouch, and if you haven't found any pork chops before the fight, and have taken damage, you're pretty much fucked. The death boss fight and Dracula himself will tear you a new asshole if you're not prepared. The random sickles and beams of death will delete your health, and Dracula himself is a 3-phase gauntlet of a battle. The classic Castlevania games were notorious for its challenge, and this game is no exception. The game is very faithful to the original Castlevania with its use of the whip and all 5 sub-weapons. The enemies and the bosses themselves have been reimagined faithfully, and one of Dracula's boss designs has also been ripped from Symphony of the Night, as well as his intro scene.
So ends the great battle.
And let's not forget the soundtrack. Castlevania music in general is fucking lit. The original Castlevania tracks have been brought back to life thanks to the efforts of multiple artists who are also diehard fans of the Castlevania franchise. And when you combine it with Doom's FPS style gameplay, it's like a match made in heaven. Or should I say a match made in the shores of hell. Tracks like Vampire Killer, Wicked Child, and Heart of Fire get amazing covers in this game. And the same extends to the rest of the soundtrack, including Dracula and the bosses. And the same extends to the rest of the soundtrack, including Dracula's fight, as well as the other levels. It's a delightful treat in the sound realm, and if we were just talking about music and game soundtracks, Castlevania as a whole would be an easy fucking S tier. This fan-made project is, as far as I am concerned, a goated project, and a worthy remake to an absolute classic like the original Castlevania. Simon's Destiny is a short and sweet but difficult total conversion mod for Doom that is a joy to play. There are lots of fan-made projects for the franchise, and this is one of the best ones that I have played so far. Doom has a lot of great total conversion mods. The GZ Doom engine here has proven time and time again that it can do anything, even remake old games like the first Castlevania. Put aside your super shotgun, get the Indiana Jones whip out, and light a candle because Doom is taking a trip to Transylvania this time around. Castlevania Simon's Destiny is an awesome remake. Go play it. Thank you for watching.